Hello, class. This is Mr. Beller. These will be your first set of notes for Unit 4. The title of this unit is Balance in Nationalism and Sectionalism. The years that we're going to cover are 1815 through 1840. The first thing that we should look at here is just on the title slide is why do we select these years for our unit? Why are these years important? 1815 is the year right after the War of 1812 is over. The War of 1812 is the treaty is signed in December of 1814. The last battle, the Battle of New Orleans, is actually fought after the treaty is signed in 1815. So the beginning of this unit, we like to make it start in the first year after the War of 1812. Why 1840? Because 1840, we end this with the 1840 election, and we'll talk about as to why we decide to end with the election of William Henry Harrison. Something to note is that Unit 4 and Unit 5 we'll look at some of the same years. So there are going to be some overlapping years here for the next two units. However, we will cover or address different themes or different topics. So this is why we're splitting it up into two different units. So for the introduction, remember if you're looking at the handout, there's two sets of notes here that you'll take for station number 1. You will take notes for the fill in the blanks. I've provided this for you. And check for understanding notes. These will be done on a sheet of paper that you're going to turn in to me. So the check for understanding notes it begins with the introduction. So make sure that you have a blank sheet of paper out, that you've copied the outline, Roman numeral number 1, and label this introduction. Skip some lines, Roman numeral number 2, themes of the unit. Skip some lines for your answers, and then Roman numeral 3, the student will understand questions, and then you should have A, B, C, D, E, and F. Each of those letters are spaced out for a couple lines, so you're able to answer these questions. Remember, those check for understanding questions are what will be turned in to me. To introduce this unit, I have a couple things that I need you to do and discuss with your partners. Remember, anytime I ask you to discuss and write down, you can also pause the video and complete the assignment and then resume playing the lecture. So I have a quote for John C. Calhoun, but before I even want you to read that quote, I want you to answer the following questions that are in blue. The first one is dealing with our country's motto. Our country's motto, and this is on all the currency, is E pluribus unum, which means out of many, one. What I want you to do is, in your own words, discuss with your partner and decide and come up with an answer as what this phrase means to you. Please use examples to support your answer, and these examples can be from modern day. You could say out of many one means this to us, and you could also look at the context of when it was created during the period of the founding fathers. We're looking at the 1780s. The second thing I want you to do for the introduction is I would like to know your opinion. Is our country more united or divided today? Why and how so? So what I would do is I would pause the video and take a moment to discuss both parts in blue with your partners. Jot down your answers and then resume. All right, now that you've done the first part dealing with our country's motto, let's look at this quote. This quote is by John C. Calhoun. And it goes as follows. John C. Calhoun says, I never use the word nation in speaking of the United States. We are not a nation, but a union, a confederacy of equal and sovereign states. Now, I haven't given you a lot of context, so just based on what is being said by Calhoun, I want you to predict the following. What do you think Calhoun's purpose was in saying this? Who do you think he was talking to, or who was his intended audience? And what do you think the occasion was of this quote? So you're looking at maybe possibly predicting the historical context or the immediate events surrounding this quote. What do you think could have been going on that would have caused or influenced John Calhoun to say those words? Hopefully by the end of this unit, all right, after we go through the third lecture series, you should be able to come back to this quote, and you should be able to answer this with complete certainty and historical accuracy. So it would be interesting to see what you said on the very first day compared to what you will say on the very last day. So please just go ahead and pause the video, discuss the quote and the 3 questions with your partners, record them on a separate sheet of notebook paper, and move on. Now, there may be some things that you need to look up: Confederacy, sovereign. Those are some things that you could look up. You could also look up who John C. Calhoun was. These are things that might allow you to come up with a stronger and more thorough prediction to the circumstances surrounding this quote. All right, so we are going to the themes of the unit. We're looking at 3 lectures, and each lecture has a particular theme or objective. Today's lecture, we're looking at nationalism exerts a strong influence on the nation's courts, foreign affairs, and westward expansion. The second lecture is going to center around how Henry Clay sought to unify the country. And as he's seeking to unify the country, various sections of the country develop different economic systems. And the third theme, or the third main idea of the lecture series, will concern Andrew Jackson. And the age of Jackson, or Jacksonian America, marks a new age in politics, and the rise of what we will become known as the common man. So I've tried to select 2 images that I think speak to the themes that I presented to you. And so for each image, what you want to do is you want to use the question matrix that I've provided for you, and I want you to produce a question that you think relates to the image. The image at top, you can title this the county election, and the image below, I think you could title this the Erie Canal stump puller. All right, so based on just what you're seeing, what you observe going on, the fine details as far as who's included, what do you think is happening, so on and so forth, I want you to produce a question. You will answer those questions at the end of the lecture. So why don't you press pause on the video, look at the question matrix, and for each of the images, the county elections on top, the Erie Canal stump pullers on bottom, produce one question which you will be able to answer at the end of this lecture. All right, so we are getting to the fill-in-the-blank notes. So you want to have those out. I've tried to at some time either definitely make sure that I've addressed the fill-in-the-blanks that you need to answer, either by text or with me talking. So there might be some times that you're going to have to replay the video. You're going to have to work with the people surrounding you to get what I've said into your notes. If you ever have any questions, you can also pause the video and ask me. So the focus of this lecture is that we want to look at nationalism's influence on the courts, foreign policy, and westward expansion. Why does it still matter? Well, these sets of notes matters because nationalism still continues to affect such decisions as whether or not we should involve the country in foreign conflicts, and what limits can be placed on business, communication, and other trade. So if nationalism is going to be a central theme or concept of these lecture notes, we need to know what nationalism is. So what is nationalism? What would be a good definition for nationalism? Nationalism is the belief that national interest should be placed ahead of regional concerns or the interest of other countries. One more time, nationalism is the belief that national interest should be placed ahead of regional concerns or the interest of other countries. And so the first aspect of nationalism that we're going to look at will be what's called judicial nationalism. And judicial nationalism is exhibited or exemplified by this man right over here. This is John Marshall. He is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court for the first part of the 19th century. I believe that he serves from 1801 to I believe like 1835 as Chief Justice. And so the main idea as far as the Marshall Court and judicial nationalism is that the Supreme Court under Chief Justice John Marshall made a number of rulings that boosted federal power. All right. So the Supreme Court under Chief Justice Marshall made a number of rulings that boosted federal power. He did this 2 ways. Number one, They boosted federal power by limiting state powers. And the second way he boosted federal power is he strengthened government economic control. And so we're going to look at 4 court cases here. And for each of these court cases, we want to be able to identify what ideas did this measure or this court case contain. And then we want to look at how did this court case promote nationalism. I'm not going to go into too much depth with each court case. I'm just pretty much going to give you the information that you need to know for each of the columns. So the first one that we're going to look at is Gibbons versus Ogden. This is from 1824. And so the idea that this court case contained is that in interstate commerce, that means business that's going across state lines, state laws must yield to federal laws. In other words, the federal government has power to regulate interstate commerce, or the federal government has power to regulate anything that moves across state lines. Now, how does this court case promote nationalism? Well, it promoted nationalism by preventing states from acting in ways that hurt other states. All right, so Gibbons versus Ogden promoted nationalism, or the idea that national interests should be placed ahead of regional concerns, by preventing states from acting in ways that hurt other states. The second court case that we're going to look at is McCulloch versus Maryland in 1819. The idea that McCulloch versus Maryland contained is actually 2 ideas. All right, number 1, the Bank of the United States is constitutional. This has been a long-standing debate ever since Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton debated it in the 1790s. McCulloch versus Maryland is going to say that the Bank of the United States, or the National Bank, is constitutional. The other idea that this measure contained is that a state cannot tax a federal institution. So a state like Maryland cannot tax something that belongs to the federal government. How does this promote nationalism? By limiting the state's power, it strengthened government economic control. By allowing the Bank of the United States to be constitutional, it strengthened the federal government's control over the economy. I've really just said the same thing, but in slightly different ways there. The third court case that we're going to look at is Fletcher versus Peck from 1810. The idea that this court case contained was that a state law cannot violate an individual's constitutional right. It promoted nationalism by blocking state interference in business and in commerce. The last court case, Dartmouth College versus Woodward in 1819, had the idea that a charter was a contract and that the Constitution did not allow states to interfere with contracts. So once again, why does this promote nationalism? You're limiting the power of the states. We will look at Worcester versus Georgia in the third lecture. The next lecture series, so there's 2 videos that you're going to want to watch. The next lecture series will deal with nationalism shaping foreign policy and nationalism as America pushes west. You will want to go to the second video to access these lecture videos. As you're finishing up this video, I would go ahead and look at the notes that you're going to have to turn in to me on your separate sheet of paper, and that you should be able to answer the first student will understand question there on your outline. So why don't you do that before you go to the next video?